Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
You have the floor, and if you need anyone needing to present documents or PowerPoints, I will then give them the presenter mode so they can do it. Laura, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I am sorry, I have no camera with the link we use for the conference today. It cannot connect with my laptop from the work. And in my private computer, I don't have a camera. So I am happy to be the project advisor of INTERMIN. It was a real great pleasure to follow the project and see the excellent results achieved. INTERMIN, the International Network of Raw Materials Training Centers, responded to the Horizon 2020 call, and in particular to Raw Materials International Cooperation, international networks of raw materials training centers. And I can confirm that fully responded and successfully responded. So the project mapped raw material skills and knowledge in the EU and the third countries, and is providing a catalog. Also identified key knowledge gaps and emerging needs, considering existing and future employers' needs. Also, INTERMIN successfully developed an international qualification framework for the raw materials sector, and the project showed defined knowledge and skills for activities related to exploration, extraction, processing, recycling. Also, I am happy that INTERMIN provides us a roadmap to enhance education and development of skills and knowledge in the sector. I think it's a very useful document, and I hope that we will be able to share this through the RMIS, Raw Materials Information Systems, to share with the member states. It's a very valuable document. And last but not least, INTERMIN created 2 networks of post-grade trainings and educational centers, one for Europe named GUIDE, and a global one named INTERMIN. And I think is one of the first to be so complete and comprehensive at international level and at such scale, because it covers in Europe, in South America, in North America, Africa, and Asia. So it's a very big scale. Also, I was impressed to see that the project started from scratch and was building so much over this time, and I think it's a valuable network. Also, the networks created are valuable, and also in the call you responded, the project should create a self-sustainable, long-term, lasting international network of training centers for professionals, and I would very much encourage INTERMIN to not stop here, but to continue its successful work to maintain the networks, and to hear you also over years of many years in the future that you could support the professionals in this field through these networks you developed. So I would like to thank you very much to Manuel and to all consortium for this nice work, and I wish you a very fruitful day of discussions today and exchanges and sharing all the good results. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your kind words, Laura. I really hope that after we are already preparing MOUs to maintain the network after the finish of the project. I can advance that the School of Mines is interested in maintaining this because it's one of those that you might know that the director of the School of Mines of Madrid is now Francisco Lorza, which is one of the members of the consortium. So we think this will help very much to maintain the INTERMIN portal open for many years, and this is what we will try and do. I have to now explain to you that the first session of this conference will cover the presentation from all the work packages explaining what they have done. And then after that, we will have a stakeholders debate with INTERMIN related EU Horizontal 2020 projects. I have to thank all these projects for being here today and helping us. And then the second part of the meeting, we will review, make an outlook of the situation all around the world of training, education, and raw materials. I would like to start first by showing you when we started this project, we made our first video of what we wanted to do, and I will briefly present to you this video because I think it's very representative of what we have. Let me see if I can show you the video. Let's see, where is it?
My name is Carlos. Soy Tirio Marino. I'm a postgraduate in geoscience.
Me llamo Soraya.
Je suis Julien. My name is Austin. I'm 27. I'm from the United States of America. My name is Miguel.
My name is Carmen.
Wait a second, because
Soy Elena Núñez Varela. My name is Riley, and I have a bachelor's degree in geology.
Je m'intéresse aux
see if I can show you this. Okay. Now.
My name is Carlos.
Sono Tirio Marino.
I'm a postgraduate in geoscience.
Me llamo Soraya.
Je suis Julien. My name's Austin. I'm 27. I'm from the United States of America.
My name is Miguel.
My name is Carmen.
My name is Adrià Ramos.
Soy Elena Núñez Varela. My name is Riley, and I have a bachelor's degree in geology.
Je m'intéresse aux interactions entre tectonique, climat et érosion.
Investigación minera, que es lo que más me gusta.
In natural hazards and risks.
Contaminación y modelización de aguas.
I am looking for a university that allows me to keep on learning new advanced geophysical methodologies. Corsi di formazione in mineralogia e geochimica.
I'm searching for a master's program in maritime geology.
INTERMIN website helps me to find all the courses I'm interested in. It's easy to use and international.
That's why I choose INTERMIN.
¿Estás ahí?
Sei anche tu in INTERMIN?
On se donne rendez-vous sur INTERMIN? INTERMIN. Are you in?
Okay, so this was our first presentation video of the INTERMIN project, which, as you can easily see, its objective is the students that are searching for training to develop their future. This was as a presentation of our objectives, and at the end of this conference, you will see the final results that we have got. Now, I would like to give the floor to Philip Hartley, who has been responsible from the Universidad for the University of Mountain University Leuven. Mountain University Leuven. I don't know why you call it Mountain University Leuven when it's the University of Leuven. The mountain is because there's a mountain here, probably. Anyway, Philip, I would like to give you the floor so you can present the results of your work package. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Manuel. I could give you a not so brief history lesson now on why we are called Montanuniversität. And I could also give you some suggestions for proper wording, but somebody in our university decided to keep it Montanuniversität, also in English translation. although you can find us as University of Leoben, Mining University Leoben, and some other deviations from that. So as long as Leoben is there and not Leuven, for example, in Belgium, we should be okay, and you can find us. Coming to the topic, well, I have the honor here to start with what we did in the INTERMIN project. I give you a brief overview of what we did in work package 1. This work package was called International Mapping of Training Programs and Raw Materials and Resources. As you are, well, as you heard from Laura a couple of minutes ago, we started from scratch. So this mapping of training programs was a very essential part because we wanted to know, of course, we all have our networks and we all have our ideas, but we wanted to know on, well, black and white, what kind of training programs are taught worldwide, and what is their relation to the minerals raw materials community. And that's what we did in this first work package. So to do that, we defined something that we call the skills catalog. So you will see a little later that we did things a bit different, that we didn't want to ask universities, do you teach geotechnics and or do you geotechnics 1, geotechnics 2, and geotechnics 3, and how many hours do you teach there? We wanted to go a route via skills, knowledge, and qualifications, which is, I think, more comprehensive and can be translated more easily to others and other projects and other universities, and that's what we did. I will give you a bit of an example later on. And then we assessed the data worldwide that happened, well, 3 years ago now, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I will give you a bit of an overview of what we found out there. So what brief teaching areas, skills, subjects, and also languages are the major, or is the majority of raw materials training programs in the world. So raw materials is not just mining, it's not just geology, it's all of them. It's geophysics. You could extend it to metallurgy and a couple of others. So we kept to geology and mining here. So give you a bit of a framework, we do have two tasks in this first. We did have two tasks in this first work package. Yeah, number one was the scoping, so the definition of the functional requirements that are necessary for us. And the second one was then really the mapping project. So where we wanted to find out which universities or which, not just universities, which institutions, can be private, can be universities, teach something in the raw materials sector. So we started with desk research, and I think what is much more important there is the online. Give me a second. So is the online part here, online research, surveys, and interviews. So we really sent out a survey to, well, the entire world in the end, asking people for their feedback, and in this way we could increase our database and our knowledge quite well. Last but not least, we wanted to populate a searchable wiki database interlinked with a geographic information system. The first iteration that I'm going to show was really preliminary. Now we do have a fully operational portal, and this will be hopefully reported a little later on, and I will not touch on that. But this was the first step, and as Laura said, we started from scratch. So this first step was, I think it was necessary to go into the right direction. So let's go to the profession, the skills, and the knowledge. So that's what we defined in the end. So we defined a profession in the mining domain. We defined the job areas where people are working, and we defined the skills where people are working in. So as I explained previously, and as I will not become tired to explain once again and again, we didn't ask for, do you learn ventilation 1, ventilation 2, and ventilation 3? But what we wanted to know is, does somebody really have knowledge and skills about ventilation in underground mines, about dangerous gases, about hazardous situations differing from those dangerous gases? Because the pure title of a lecture doesn't say anything about the learning outcomes. And learning outcomes are very complicated to assess. And so we try to have a good general view on that. And well, as good as it gets at least. And our aim, of course, was also to go into the entire world. So not just Europe. We are a European Union funded project. We wanted to go globally, and there's a completely different understanding of what is a skill, what is a qualification, what is a degree, what is not a degree, what is a bachelor's, what is a master's degree and a PhD, and so on and so forth. So we have many different inputs there and understandings there, and so we try to make a good compromise which helps us, which hopefully also helps the others. And this is the skills catalog that I'm showing you on the left-hand side, and we transferred, this is the first idea about the skills, and we transferred that to our questionnaire, to our skills catalog. So we wanted then to have very easy to answer web surveys where people could fill in the information. And as you see here, for example, we do have a cascade of 3 hierarchy levels. So a student can learn skills about surface and underground mining, as it is here in the example, and knowledge that is linked to surface and underground mining might be mining planning, mining methods, planning and design, ground control, health and safety, ventilation, and a couple of others. And we did this for all the skills that we could think of that we identified in desktop research. And we broke those down again to another list of bullet points. So in ground control, you see in this example, we would have rock mechanics, soil mechanics, geotechnics, monitoring, and lab testing. So yeah, in the end, these 3 lists should then be our basis for working further on. And we hope that with this we could simplify the process in a way that we could still get, well, we could still get good results, but we would not tire the people when filling out our survey, because you can always break it down to ever more details. And every university has a bit of a different approach and different wording, and then we have Spanish, French, Chinese, and English, and whatsoever there. So everybody will use it in different terms, and we try to simplify it in that way. This brings us to a questionnaire. So we have this questionnaire then with lots of job areas, as you see here on the left-hand side. The first job area that we identified would be the business management, and business management would be subdivided into, I think, 8 more groups, and each of those groups will then be subdivided into a number of even more groups, depending on what we wanted to, or what we found out in the literature survey and what we seemed as necessary for that. One of the constraints there was the time. As you might realize, and if you take a look at one of those bullet points here, you would say, okay, there's still something missing. And I fully agree with that. Everybody will find something missing on that list, especially I think then for the technical, more technical parts. But this is a catalog, this is a survey that we wanted to send out, or we finally sent out to the entire world, asking for those who really know something about their programs to fill that in. So we sent this out to our peers, to professors, to teachers, to scientists all over the world, and say, please help us in filling our database. And we can't send them a questionnaire that takes them 2 hours or 2 days to complete. So we needed to find a compromise in terms of completeness and in terms of what we wanted to find out and what we could find out. So this is the compromise that we found. And you will always identify points that are still missing, but this took the people, I think, roughly 20 minutes to complete that. And we believe 20 minutes is already a rather long survey. So yeah. So coming to the results, because I just got 15 minutes, I think. So coming to the results, we tried to elaborate a little bit on, well, first thing, of course, continents and teaching areas. So what we found out is from the survey results that we got study programs, 92 in Austria, sorry, that would be too much. 92 in Europe, only 22 in Africa, 25 in Asia, only a couple in North America, Oceania, and also just 37 study programs in South America. I think this graph reflects, of course, our geographical position a little bit, because, well, we are operating out of Europe, and especially in Oceania and North America, we could easily identify more, but we don't have all those informations, and it was very hard for us to really do things remotely. So, and I don't mean this from a COVID perspective, but from not knowing the institution. So I could always click on a web page of a university and go to the curriculum there and try to fill out this survey on my own, but it won't really have the truth there, because I interpret what they do, and we more relied on what having their information on what they are doing, because we believe that this is the more convenient approach, and I think it's also more towards the truth, if there is a truth in that respect. So coming to more results, what we see, we have 176 programs that teach programs identifying geology, exploration, resources, and reserves, which is this, no, where's the pointer? This very large column here. We only have 42 programs which deal with social performance. Also only 55 dealing with business management here on the left-hand side. So what you can see is there is a bit of a skewness of the purely technical things, so geology, then mining and mining geomechanics, which are the largest programs here, or the skills, the teaching areas where we identified most responses, and then social performance, mining equipment, business management, they're rather low. My personal opinion is that we also need to have those on board, because only then we can really justify mining if we have the people on board. Bringing to language, we also asked for language. You can see here in blue, orange, and gray the language 1, 2, and 3. So meaning, if blue is language 1, this is a program primarily taught in English. If there is a program as a second language English, then this would be orange, and if it would be the third language, it would be English, then this would be gray here. So you can see that the majority of programs is teaching English, yeah, that's how it is. I think that's also a good, a very good thing to communicate worldwide. And what is, for example, very interesting here, if you take a look at Danish, and I just realized that there's always one missing, but there are 2 languages which don't have a blue column, and there are a couple of others here as well in the middle. So these are study programs which teach primarily in a foreign language in their home country. So this would be Danish, this would be in Iceland, and Korea, and I don't know who the others are, quite frankly now. So they really teach English to accommodate international students mainly, and also to make their students fit for going international. And that's a very interesting approach that we found out there, and a very interesting development. So the first iteration of the mapping and the database looked like that. You could also find that on the internet, and well, our colleagues now developed much further. But what we could do there is identify suitable programs in the entire world, see where those programs are situated, so in which country, and also in which town. And when you take a look at all those bluish boxes here, they identified, is there a certain skill, a certain program done at this very university. So if you would then have clicked on a certain skill or at a certain country, you would have had chance to go into that country and just see what's happening there, who is teaching in which language, which is a very convenient way of doing here. And what you can also see here on this graph is the world map, and I think we can be rather proud of what we developed there, because you see we covered almost the entire world. Having in mind what I explained a little earlier, so in North America, I think we just identified 21 institutions, and there are many more. So the density is not always the same in the entire world, but we covered almost the entire world, at least with a couple of responses. And I believe we can be rather proud of that. And now with the new portal, and this will be discussed a little later on, we're going to head on with that, develop further and further. So this brings me to my conclusions, not stealing too much of your time, hopefully. We identified a new concept for assessing raw materials education that is needed. So this new concept is the road via skills and knowledge instead of a topic and a credit, because we believe that it is much easier to be translated worldwide, not just language-wise, but also from the philosophical point of view and from the structural point of view of study programs. And what we found out in this first survey with which we started out is that the structure of the raw materials education is rather one-sided or skewed. So we have lots of geology and pure mining, and we have much less on the business associated to mining and the social issue, raw materials and the social issues dedicated to them. So I think it's up to you to identify conclusions now from that, and it will be up to those who offer study programs whether they would like to go more into the business and social issues side, or whether they would like to stick to the pure technical parts. I think that's just something that we found out, and I don't have a real opinion on that, at least not in this context here. But yeah, simply that's what we found out. With that, I'm at the end of my 15 minutes, well, here are my contact details in case you want to know more or you want to get in touch with me. And I think also, well, you can contact Manuel or anybody else in the consortium to discuss it further if you wish.
Thank you very much, Philip. If anyone wants to make a question or ask a question, you can just open your microphone and ask Philip. I just have one question about this. Is, do you know of any other intent of producing a skill catalog? Because it is to me very surprising that even though when you approve a new educational plan in a university, normally one of the things you have to respond to is what are the skills that the student will acquire after the end of this post-grade training course. But nobody has ever mapped this. I don't know if you have ever heard of a skill catalog. That's the one we have produced in INTERMIN.
Well, I wouldn't be aware of something like that. And I think the discussion that we have, and I think I'm now teasing a bit Vitor's presentation, but the discussion that we had on the qualification framework as well is going into the same direction. So I think it's not really dealt with in many cases, because it's in many cases happening on an individual basis. So when an international employer hires somebody internationally, they ask those people and they assess those people anyway, and in many cases they don't really, at least that's my impression, they don't follow a formal structure like that. And I can just give you an example of our own university. So we have been approached 2 years ago by different stakeholders from the local industry. And they said, okay, your students are lacking that, and that. And then we said, okay, so how should we realize that now? Because their wishes were going into so many different aspects. They went from digitalization to legal rights to social rights to underground mining to bit mining to blasting, so basically everything. And we said we can't cover everything. So and that's why I believe that many do this on a rather individual basis, also depending on what kind of lecturers they have, what the students are up to now, what the local industry demands. But that's just my feeling.
Okay, thank you very much, Philip. If nobody else has a question, I think I will give the word to Luis Lopez and Adrián Seco of La Palma Research Center, that will talk about the gaps that we have found in INTERMIN in the training around the world. Luis, I will give you the floor now.
Okay. So just let me know if you can see my screen and hear me well.
We can hear you, but we have not. Okay, yes. Now we see your screen and we can hear you well.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I will start. Yeah, so I'm Luis Lopes from La Palma Research Center, and I will present the work that we have developed in Work Package 2, where we studied the raw materials future needs and gaps for skills, as well as these the emerging knowledge that will appear and that will be necessary to integrate as part of training and education in the raw materials sector. So here in the first slide, you can see a picture of what we have done in this work package. You can see here on the left side some of the elements we used to develop our outcomes. So we have here desk research, the use of focus groups, also the use of a Delphi survey, and this was intended to collect information to produce deliverable 2.1, which was the skill gaps. Then we have the development of a competency model for the raw materials sector, finalizing with a roadmap on the skills provision. And I will go through each one of these items in the next slides. So first, an important for this skill gaps analysis for the future was to have a definition on timeframes to have a look into. Here we define three timeframes. So a short time frame, which we can say is the next few years up to the end of 2000 Europe. And here we mostly did a review of position papers and the desk research to identify these skill gaps. Then we have the medium term, which is just right after it. It's with a timeline of 2030, coinciding with important target for the EU, such as the coinciding with its climate and energy framework. For the identification of skills, for the medium term, we use the focus groups, exercises with experts, and then finally, for 2050, this long-term time frame coinciding with carbon neutrality, which the EU aims to achieve. And here we use the experts to develop the office service to collect information. So as part of our first steps, as I said, was to make a desk review and review available reports. There are a number of reports relating to the raw materials value chain, to the mining sector, etc., detailing already what skills and the competencies are missing or will be needed in the now and in the near future. We have here reports from the World Economic Forum, from very important companies such as McKinsey, etc. So this our work started by having a review on this. So from this review, together with all the other interaction with experts, we were able to develop this deliverable 2.1, so the report on skills gaps, where we list the current and future competency needs for the raw materials sector. And this was for what we have done for the short term, so this desk research, which then helped us to extrapolate and explore through the use of focus groups to define the needs for the medium term. So here the focus groups were exercises that we have done with both internal and external experts related to the raw material sector, where we posed a series of questions and statements for these experts to comment on, so that we could collect information of relevance and trying to define skill gaps for this 2030 time frame. In terms of results of these focus groups, we arrived at two main skills needs and drivers. We have here on the left side what we call the mining 4.0 digital transformation skills, and on the right side the social skills. You can see here that some of these skills are already starting to be highly in demand on the raw materials sector. We have here, for example, the necessity to have knowledge in different components of the value chain. So have a different type of employee who can reach more than one part of the spectra that goes more wider. We have here others such as a shift towards higher cognitive and complex problem-solving skills that is going higher in demand by the industry. Then, of course, there are also some items that we realize that the industry will need to do in order to solve their skill needs, such as the reskilling and upskilling of workforce to attract talents from other sectors. We can see this very much, for example, in the necessity of the communication and information technologies, which the raw material sector needs and will continue to need, and it can be solved by attracting talents from other sectors. And then on the social skills, we have here, for example, communication, leadership, and training skills that will raise in demand, as well as a focus on the socio-environmental aspects, such as the responsible sourcing of minerals. Then we use the office surveys to study the skill gaps for the long term. So here we defined 5 main topics, 5 main areas that were defined by our previous knowledge on possible trends, and this included mass mining, mineral exploration undercover, mining in the seafloor and in space, so in extreme conditions, the use and the necessity of raw materials to support the circular economy, and also the future of education of raw materials. So the way the Delphi survey goes is that we defined a series of statements based on the previous identified areas, and we post these statements as a questionnaire to the experts. We did this in 2 rounds, where our objective was to collect in 20 statements, divided 10 in the first round and 10 in the second round, where we aim to collect from the experts their level of agreement with the statements we posted, and also to collect their comments and advice in terms of related to their expertise, their general comments, so that we could drive from here potential skill gaps. Again, for this specific exercise, we were looking for the time frame of 2050. Here we had among the 2 rounds almost 70 participants, mostly from the EU, but also Australia, the United States, and a few other countries. In terms of the results of the office survey, we could map some emerging skill gaps. These are not all; these are some of them. So we have here, for example, identified by the experts, the need for in demand for geotechnical, hydrogeological, and automation specialists. This will be driven, of course, by the uptake of, for example, robotics and automation by the mining industry. Skills related to data science and data management needs. A bigger uptake of biotechnology and biotechnology-related skills and needs during the whole of the value chain. For example, for production and processing of raw materials. We have here also some of the skills more related to computing, so coding, for example. A bigger and skill demands and need for the social environmental aspects, with the waste management, waste processing technology being high in demand, as well as social mechanisms. So, for example, with with a bigger and bigger uptake of the social license to operate. Then, based on this information of the skill gaps, as well as with the raw materials qualification framework and the skills catalog that was just presented, we were able to define a competency model for the raw materials sector, which was based on the definition of scenarios, and then for each of the scenarios we could drive these competency needs. We defined 4 scenarios. So a business as usual, an environmentally driven scenario, a fragmentation, and a mining 5.01. Each one of them with their own particularities, which in the end will drive different skill needs and competency needs for the future. So in the first one, the business as usual, it's a scenario that just follows what has been happening now. So it follows the current trends. The environmentally driven is a scenario where stakeholders share responsibility for the environment. So there is a big uptake on these socio-environmental needs. Then we have the fragmentation, which is in a world of tension and conflicts, where mining companies and the raw material sector companies tend to do things by themselves. So they need to start exploring because the world is much more closed. This drives exploration in difficult to access scenarios. And then finally, we have mining 5.0 scenario, which is where we see the most radical innovations taking place. So novel technologies, mining in remote areas, including space mining and deep sea mining taking a big importance. And in this scenario, also mining is well accepted by the community. Here are some of the competencies that we were able to map in this competency model following these scenarios. You have here a list which includes, for example, this new frontier mining, so mining in new areas. So this will drive competencies in this for this specific area. The uptake of new technologies for exploration, exploitation, processing. Also the growing importance of socioeconomic mechanisms, and then the use of some other technologies such as blockchain, systems engineering taking a big importance, biotechnology and nanotechnology also becoming important in some of the raw materials value chain aspects. Finally, and taking all this information into account, we developed a roadmap for implementation. You can see here, this roadmap basically contains all the information that we have studied and tries to present how the skills and competency gaps will be needed, when they will be needed, and what they will affect. So we have here four main aspects, main areas. So market, technologies, societal expectations, and training and skills. And then we can see when they will become in need by the raw material sector for the time frames we defined. We can see here, for example, in the short term, we will already see, so in the next few years, and we're already noticing this, there will be more and more demands for example, virtual and augmented reality in mining, in exploration. We're already seeing this. Then between short term and medium term, with a very short time frame between those, we see most of the needs spanning from one to the other. And then finally, for the long term, we can see here where for example, mining in new environments, deep sea mining and space mining, that will be needed. So that's it for now. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Great. Thank you very much. If anyone has any question, please open your microphone. In the meantime, I would like to ask you one thing, Luis. What you have said is of crucial importance for the education and training of the future. And probably if I was the director of a school of mines or of a school of geology, I will take note of the new subjects I have to create to do what you're saying the world will do. So how would you see how to do this, to convince schools and faculties that the future is coming and that they have to give more subjects on, for example, social license to operate or automatic intelligence and things like that?
This is a very good question. So what we are showing here, of course, is you cannot predict the future. It's impossible to predict the future, especially in this case. We don't know what's going to happen. There is a lot of wild cards. The world can change totally. We saw this happening with the COVID situation already. There is a thing which is we can prepare for the future, and we can be almost sure that, especially for the short and medium term, these gaps will and these competencies will be in need. And of course, it's also part of the education, not only the education but also the industry to drive these needs. It cannot be only education to require this. It needs to be the industry. So there is a close connection here between one and the other. But yeah, education should start to realize that this will be in need and starting to adapt their courses. But it's a challenging process.
Thank you. I think maybe Víctor Correa can answer this question also with his presentation together with Alberto Sanchez about towards enhanced training programs. Víctor, please take the floor. Let me give you.
Thank you, Manuel.
Okay, there you are.
Okay, so I guess everyone is having my screen and my sound now.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Should be there. So the EFG was in charge of the work package 3, which we called response.
Peter, we are not seeing your screen yet.
Okay, I just stop it. And I'm sharing it again. Is it working now, Manuel?
No, maybe you have to, you have to select which screen. If you have two, you have to select the main one probably, I don't know.
Okay, let's try it again and see if it's working. In fact, I only have one screen, so it's not difficult, but I don't know why it's having these problems in GoToMeeting, because it used to be quite. Do you have it now?
No, we don't see it. If you want,
okay.
I can present your screen from here because I have your presentation, I think.
Just let me share the application to see if it's going that way.
What do you mean? You are the presenter.
Yes, I'm the presenter now. I'm sharing the application instead of the screen, and it's not working for you, right?
Okay.
Not yet.
Let me then open your presentation that you sent me.
Yes, please.
And we can do it this way.
I believe this is one of the downsides of online meetings, because sometimes I can't exactly explain why, because this is PowerPoint, this is my computer, and it is GoToMeeting. So we tried this so many times.
You can see it now, your presentation. Oh.
But from your screen?
Yeah, it's from my screen. And everybody can see it. Okay?
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay, so this is strange because now I cannot see it. So I'm assuming you are on the first slide. Let's see if we go that way.
You cannot see your own
No,
screen?
but don't worry. I have the presentation on my computer, but I cannot see it. So Manuel, please move on to the second slide. The second slide is the one that presents the work package 3. You are there, right?
Yeah, I am there.
So the interesting thing about this work package is that it included all the consortium members first, and second, the work package was divided in 3 tasks, and it will be having 5 reports, 5 different deliverables. It's important to say also that the purpose of this work package was to close the skills gap. So as Philip just presented the skills map, then we was just presenting the trends towards the future, and this work package was trying to accommodate both things. Next slide, please, Manuel.
Yeah, it's on.
So the first thing, if you want, the first task was to define reference points, because one of the main problems that is hindering the mobility of professionals and students is the recognition of qualifications. So it's not enough to say that we have the same skills. It's also important to show that these skills were taught and the outcomes are the same, no matter which university you have been getting your education. So that was the purpose of this work package. And next slide, please, Manuel. And we came up with 3 deliverables. In this image, what you have is the cover of the deliverables. The first one was an international qualifications framework. The second, we defined the quality assessment system that was using metrics and reference points that were common and to all programs, so something that can be implemented worldwide. And finally, the third deliverable was about best practice guidelines for the education programs. Next slide, please. Just let me highlight the first deliverable, the qualifications framework, because this was something that was never made. So a qualifications framework is something that says for the different levels of qualifications, and we used as, if you want, as a template, the European qualifications framework. So for the different levels of qualification inside the raw materials sector, and again, we, as Philip said, this is not only about mining, it's also about materials processing, it's also about recycling and exploration. So we basically mapped all these different areas against the European qualification framework levels, and we came to the conclusion that the levels 3 to 7, so 7 is a master's level, 6 is a bachelor's, and then the 3 to 5 is what you normally call high school levels. So we assume that most of the workers inside the industry are comprised in these qualification levels, and we came up with a system based on skills, knowledge, and competence that was saying if you are working on this level in this specific area of the industry, you should have this knowledge, skills, and competences. Next slide, please. So you see that produces a lot of maps. And one of the solutions we had to represent this was looking to these triangles. So basically, we have 14 triangles. Each triangle concerns a specific level and a specific area of the industry, and it specifies what are the basic qualifications that you need to have in that level, what are the knowledge, skills, and competencies that are expected. If you want, you have this published online in Zenodo, so you can have a look at those maps or at deliverable and see that this try to be a comprehensive overview of the industry. Next slide, please, Manuel. Then the quality assessment was also based on the European quality assurance system. that exists at European level. Basically, the components of these quality assurance systems should cover at least 3 different areas. One is the accrediting agencies. So the agencies that say to a university or to a company that is providing training, to be accredited, you need to have this and that. So we came up with some standards and guidelines for these agencies. Then the second, if you want, the second leg of the quality assessment system is the providers of education. So the higher education institutions and vocational training providers. For them, we also produce standards and guidelines. And finally, the third leg is the education programs themselves. And for them, we also produce standards and guidelines, basically saying what you need to have to follow this Deming wheel that you see on the top left side of the screen. What you need to have to plan, to do, to monitor, and to see what are the differences, and then to correct them. That was the topic of this deliverable 3.2 that was dealing with the quality assessment. Next slide, please. And the next one is about guidelines for training programs. And basically, I mean, I just put on this slide some of the guidelines, if you want, the most relevant. And you see that if you want, the main recommendation is to adapt the skills and learning objectives to the training methods and tools. And you have several examples there. So if you are talking, let's say, for instance, about if you want to see how people behave on a day-to-day basis, in day-to-day decisions, so the in-basket technique, it's a good way. In-basket technique means that you replicate a system where someone has been on vacations and it comes back to his desk and he has a lot of tasks to do. So how that person prioritize their own activities and decisions should be made using that technique. Of course, you are talking about management, probably it's case studies, and if you are talking about technical skills, it should be equipment simulators. Something that we recommended is to increase the number of training and education time allocated to, if you want, out of the class time. So it could be fieldwork time, it could be time inside companies, but try to put people in front of the real tasks and challenges. It will be something that should be improved. So these are guidelines, and as I said, this was the content of the third deliverable of the task 3.1. Manuel, next slide, please. And we are now seeing the task 3.2. So after having this, if you want, this set of quality assessment methods to monitor skills, after having this, if you want, as a basis, the goal of this task was to come up with some education and training programs. Next slide, please. And the main result was an action plan. So it only had this deliverable. And next slide, please. And the action plan basically try to, if you want, to connect the problem that we have, the skills gap, with the vision to close that skill gaps, and then an action plan dealing with several tasks or activities that could be used to close that vision. Each task was mapped in a summary table, like the one that you see on the left side of the screen, basically highlighting that the number of stakeholders, the amount of money that you'll be needing, all these things are there. It's important to say also that we prioritize the different actions that you have on the red boxes of the table, sorry, on the green boxes of the table. We prioritize these tasks according with the number of stakeholders that are involved, and also according with the, just let me see, according with their acceptance to change. Basically, after having this summary of for each task, we also developed a 5-step implementation plan and a timeline. And this is the content of the action plan. I would say that the action plan, together with the qualifications framework, are among the most relevant deliverables of work package 3. Next slide, please, Manuel. And we are approaching the end of the tasks that we have inside this work package. That was the last one, advancing joint international technical and vocational training programs. I must say also that we were expecting to have a formal networking of training and education centers. This formalization was not possible during the project lifetime, as the project officer just mentioned in the introduction, and Manuel, we expect to continue towards that. But this task was trying to come up with cooperation strategies, and we decided that despite not having the formalization, we should proceed with some guidelines, some orientation for the development of joint training programs. Next slide, please, Manuel. And joint training programs are the single deliverable of this third task. Next slide. And you see again, I'm showing some of the priorities that we have in teams and instruments for the development of joint training programs. As we said, two main focus areas, if you want: digital technologies, and this is in line with the digitalization and the industry 4.0. So all these things that are coming with more automation, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence should be on high demand. So it's important to respond to that. And also the environmental and social governance aspects. I mean, because we all know that the public opposition to mining is growing everywhere, and that calls for better communication, better communities engagement, and of course, better management. So these are the two high priority topics, and the instruments that you can use to enhance training. We came up with, if you want, new approaches, and I would say I highlighted here the most, if you want, controversial ones, and controversial because they will call for new business models from both higher education institutions and also from training providers. The first one is the use of massive open online courses. This is a new trend. Even some, I would say, conservative universities are now having massive open online courses, and these are courses that are open to everyone. And you can attend a course, you can get a diploma or some sort of certification, and this is a way forward. Of course, that makes sense if these courses at the end, if they provided, as I say, a diploma, some sort of micro credentials. There are good examples coming from Australia and New Zealand on the use of micro credentials, and of course the recognition of these micro credentials and the possibility of stack them. So if you want of having a combination of different micro credentials that could be accepted by a university as a course curriculum. We believe that this is a way forward, so something that will be happening on the medium to long term. And of course, this is in line also with the orientations from the European Commission that is boosting massive open online courses and education. And the next slide basically is just to say thank you for your attention and time, and I'm here to respond to questions if we have time for them. Thank you, Manuel.
Thank you very much, Victor. If anyone wants to make any question, to ask any question to Victor, I just want to know the wealth of information provided by this work package, and also I think it's important that again universities, faculties, and schools of mines take note of what we have done in this part of the project. And because of that, I give the floor now to Francisco Elorza, who is the director of the School of Mines of Madrid, and also the leader of the work package that has designed our portal. Let me see if I give you the floor. Okay, there you are.
Yes, I'm going to. Okay. Thank you very much, Manuel. I need to reduce this. Okay.
Abajo, ahí.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Manuel. And hello to everybody. So I am going to present here the results of the work package 4, that was the developing of an international network of raw materials training centers. This work package took the whole period of the project, and there was a lot of partners involved in it, and I thanks to all of them in the help and the support to us during the project. So this work package has defined the scope, created the agenda, and investigate sustainable options for the long-term operation of a network dedicated to international cooperation and knowledge sharing by raw materials training centers. As it was already said, we have proposed that then this network, but it is not yet launched because of the difficulties that the pandemic products in the project. But as Manuel said, UPM and the School of Mines is willing to support the network during the next time, and we are, of course, the idea to finally to implement the network that has been designed and created in this project. So the network has the designed network has capitalized the work made in the other work packages, especially in work package 1, that give us the list of skills, work package 2 and work package 3. So we have adopted the concepts and the results of that has been presented here by La Palma and by Victor Correa. And the aim of this work package is to tackle long-term challenges by means of establishment of a continued international cooperation and materializing a feasible, long-lasting international network of technical and vocational training centers for materials professionals. So this work package was structured in 3 tasks. The first task, task for point 1, was the mission design and positioning. And in this task were involved a lot of partners, as you can see here. The task 4.2 was the creating and implementing the network infrastructure. So first to create the INTERMIN portal and the INTERMIN tool, and after to develop and to study a sustainability plan to make possible that this international network could could operate during many years. And finally, in the task 4.3 was the setting up and launching of the network. So we have proposed the creation of the network, but this is not yet implemented. But as I said already, we are willing to support during the first time with the help of other partners like EFHG and others, the continuation of the project. So during the first task, during this task 4.1, we have defined the mission, design, and positioning of the network that will act as a permanent professional body dedicated to raw materials education and training, carefully positioned to complement and work in synergy with other international training programs in the raw material sectors. This task has produced a deliverable, the strategic plan for the international network of raw materials that address the definition of an overall strategy for the implementation of the network, the definition of the network mission and goals, to the short, medium, and long term, the definition of the network competitive advantage compared with other initiatives and training programs in the world. And finally, the definition of a collaborative network strategies, complementaries, and possibly shared actions with other planning training programs that were identified on the work of Philippe and Mountain University in work package 1. So this is the deliverable that is already in the INTERMIN web page, so you can download it if you wish. And the implementation of this solution has finally arrived to work in two priority domains, that was the tackling of future skills mismatch and promoting excellence in skill development, and building inclusive and connecting higher education and vocational system, as already Victor mentioned to us. So the second task, the 4.2, was the creation of the ET infrastructure. So the first thing was to establish the network's online educational platform, that is in fact the deliverable 4.3, that integrates all the results produced in work package 1. And it was made more accessible using a range of different IT interfaces like HTTP, GET, and others, and also using the appropriate semantics and computer tools. So this is the INTERMIN portal to this date. So of today, I have downloaded the last data. You can see here, this is just the front page of the portal. You can, on these, to explore programs, you can explore institutions, explore sites. And until now, until today, we have already 599 study programs integrated in the portal, around 399 institutions. I think that now, at this moment, there are 2 or 3 more. And we have used the list of skills from the 60 areas that were established in work package 1. And this cover more than 100 countries. So this is just an example of the kind of screen that the window that you get, just selecting what are the universities that are inserted in the portal at this moment in Europe. And as you can see here, you have at the same time the list of skills and competencies that you can choose to select in between all these institutions what could be the more appropriate for your particular interest as a student or as a worker that is trying to change of area, for example. So this is the structure of the skills classified in different areas like business management or social performance or mining, geomechanics or mining services, etc. So you can choose here which are your interests, and like this you can obtain what are the projects or the programs that and the university that could cover with a different degree of coverage your interest. This is just an example in between 2 universities in Europe. So, as I said already, the interest of this tool is that you can cover data not only in Europe, if not is widespread to the whole world. This is just an example of the screen that you could obtain if you are interested in the universities that are positioned in Central America in this moment. Okay, and this is just an image of all the universities that are already inserted. Okay, INTERMIN web platform has been developed using different computer tools that could make easy the actualization of the population of the database. And for that, there are tools that are oriented toward the public or toward the users, the people that are, or the institutions, universities, faculties, schools, or training centers that are belonging to the INTERMIN network community. And at the same time, we have other tools that can help the classification of all the programs and all the skills using different approaches or following different concepts. So this is just a view of the ontology of the different data and the different metadata that are inserted in the database. And the good thing is that this is absolutely open, so we can continue the work very easily, because all the things have been developed using the most of the times open source codes and things that are quite open and quite adaptable to the future. So this is just the last user request that we received during these last months. As you can see, the population of the network is increasing. During the last days, we have got 6 more solicitudes, and I think that the slope of the curve of the population is increasing with time, so it takes more time every day for us. This we have a portal manual that could be provide, and is already on the web page, that could help the users to afford the insertion of the data. So at the same time, this information catalog was connected with other platforms like the Geoscience University Program portal developed by EFG and BTG in Germany, that contains in-depth information about curricula in geoscience at the bachelor and master program, mainly in Germany, but now they are trying to cover most countries also in Europe, and both for the primary and secondary raw material sector. This is just an illustration of what we have done, and we are continuing on this integration, and we are trying to finish all the whole integration for the end of the project in the end of July. So the INTERMIN and the guide system both will be shared the same database with the same concept and metadata. After that, we were working on the elaboration of a sustainability plan of the training network that defines the scope of the cooperation, the legal and financial base of the cooperation, and the design of the network structure. And it was written down in a deliverable that treats all these problem, and finally it creates a final idea, a non-profit entity that is not yet created, but that could be the future of the network with time. As I said already, we are now going to support the project results as university with other partners, but I think that the best thing in the long run would be to create this international network that maybe would be a non-profit entity based probably in Brussels, that could have as strategic goals to promote international cooperation and dissemination of good practices in raw materials training and education, to explore synergies between raw materials stakeholders for knowledge sharing, to build mutual trust and enable the mutual recognition of credits and qualification, provided by network members to enable innovation to evolve more quickly and to identify opportunities arising from comparison between diverse education systems and general education requirements. All these goals were defined in work package 3, but we have adopted all of that in our deliverable, and we strongly support this idea. So after we have worked on the task 4.3, that was the setting up and creating of the network, and for that we have established the cooperation agreements that structures the network considering the existence of a board of administration, of an executive director, and a council of experts, following all the principles that were already defined in the previous deliverable, in the deliverable 4.2. And this is the final deliverable that was created this month in June, at the end of May. Okay, so this is my presentation. I am very open to all the questions and suggestions that you can do. And thank you very much to all the people that has been involved in this work package. It was really a very nice project, and I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patsy. I think the key thing in this project is basically the portal. The portal can be used by anyone. The portal will be slowly increasing in membership, and I think it's a fantastic tool together with Guide, with the Guide portal. So I think it's a very successful work. I don't know if anyone has any question. If anyone has any question for Patsy, if not, because we are a little bit delayed, I will give the floor to Geological Surveys. I don't know if Krishnan, probably Krishnan, yes, will give us a talk on the very important job of communication of this project, which is basically one of the most important tools to disseminate the project around the globe. Thank you, Krishnan. Your floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Manuel. Sorry. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, super. So thanks, Manuel, for the introduction. So myself, Krishnan Subramani Ramakrishnan, and from the Euro Geo Surveys, we are in charge for the work package 5 communication and dissemination. And I would also like to thank Slavko Solar and Loro Cujano Godes for assisting me with all the activities, and also for preparing the presentation. So for the work package 5, we have the objectives being categorized.
Can you put it full screen?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So can you see it now?
Not yet full screen. You had to. Well, yes. Now we see it full screen, but in double.
We see the presenter mode.
You have to put it in the other mode. We can see it there now. You cannot change it. It's okay.
If you go to the 3 dots, you can hide the presenter view.
3 dots. The 3 dots. Krishnan, the 3 dots. Down, down. 3 dots down. 3 dots.
It's just coming.
3 dots here. It's here. In the below the presentation.
But do you see the full screen now, or is just
3 dots and
the next slide as well as this slide?
But you can remove the presentation if you press 3 dots down, down, down. The big screen up a little bit. 3 dots. You don't see the 3 dots here. Oh, okay. Then go back. Okay. Reading. Yeah, the reading view. Reading view. Slideshow. Okay. You should be able to put it in slides mode. For some reason. No, it should be down there with in slides mode, but if not, leave it as it was, and we could see it anyway. Yeah, start again. There you are, perfect. But we cannot hear you. No, we cannot hear you. Ah, yes, okay, perfect.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. Okay, super. Yeah, I'll be fast now. So the objectives of Work Package 5 are categorized into two parts. So the first one is about building awareness of the INTERMIN objectives, which is related to the Work Package 1 and Work Package 2. And the second part of the project is about involving a broader stakeholder community, and that is related to the activities of Work Package 3 and Work Package 4. And we have 3 tasks in relation to the Work Package 5. So the first is about developing the communication strategy. And we have the task 5.2 of dissemination activities, which is the online and offline tool. And the 5.3 of fostering communication, which is related to the networking map. So I'll be talking about these parts in the coming slides. So we have the INTERMIN website, which is a main tool of all the activities that we are doing. So everything is published there. We have a dedicated event section, the work package, and about meet the team, and a library section where all the relevant documents are uploaded. Yes, so in terms of statistics, from May 2019 to until now, the page has gathered around 10,000 views, and out of which 88% comprises of the new visitors category. So INTERMIN is also active on the social media platforms. For the Twitter page, we have around 260 followers, and around 190 tweets have been tweeted. And for each of the posts, the impressions that we are getting is about 2,500, and as well as a good engagement rate for each of the tweets that are being tweeted. For the Facebook page, we have around 165 followers, and for example, for a post that was published about the project results, we had gathered a reach rate of over 1,000, and between the period of the last 28 days, we have a good reach rate for all of the posts that were published. And we are also active on the LinkedIn platform, so we have around 3,000 plus followers for the LinkedIn page. And for each of the posts that are being published here, on an average, we have around 500 to 700 views. And for this particular post that was published on May 18th, you could see that 38% from the geologist background have viewed the post, which was followed by the researchers, the engineers, the managers. So people from all the background are present on this LinkedIn page, and we are getting good number of reach for all the posts that are published there. And here is a quick overview of the followers that were present on the INTERMIN social media platforms. So starting in 2019, we had around 800 followers for the page, but in 2021, we have 3,000 plus, and it's the same case for Twitter and Facebook. We are also present on the Flickr and YouTube platforms. For the Flickr, we just upload the pictures there and we link it to the website and social media. And for the YouTube page, we have 2,500 plus views. I'll be going through it in the coming slide. So we have posted 2 videos so far on the YouTube page. The one is the official video of the INTERMIN project, which Manuel showed in the beginning of the meeting. And the second one is a recording of the EGU session. And both have gathered around 2,500 plus view. And we have also received the third video, and we are in the process of preparing the communication plan for it, so it will be disseminated pretty soon. So yeah, so for the Flickr page, we have around 700 plus views for it, and 88 pictures have been published so far on this Flickr platform. So we are also active on the ResearchGate platform, and 14 documents have so far been uploaded on it. Here we upload all the relevant project deliverables, articles, as well as reports, and we have gathered around 1,700 plus reads for the published posts. For the online and offline dissemination tool, we have a dedicated section for this on the INTERMIN website. We have a section called news articles, and we have 3 press releases prepared during the project, and it has been disseminated with all the media organizations. Also, 31 news articles have been published on the website. For the offline dissemination tools, we have prepared 4 brochures so far. And the first one is prepared during the month 1, where it gives a quick introduction to the INTERMIN project. And the second brochure was prepared during the month 12 of the project, where the selected project results have been utilized for the designing purpose. And we prepared the third brochure during the month 25 of the project, defining the key achievements of work package 1, 2, and 3. And for the fourth brochure, we focus specifically on the work package 4, the INTERMIN portal, and it was designed during the month 33 of the project, highlighting all the key benefits of using this INTERMIN portal and what one could do within it. And apart from that, we also designed a poster. 2 posters have been designed so far. One during the month 10th of the project. So the one on the left is designed on specifically for the raw materials week event, and the one on the right is designed during month 16 for the promotion of the INTERMIN results during the EU 2019 event. For the offline tool, we have also designed 2 postcards. The one was prepared during month 11 of the project, highlighting the question around raw material education, and it has been disseminated on several events. And the second postcard is related to the INTERMIN portal, just giving a brief introduction to what it is and what the users can expect, just to involve more person to view the particular platform. And for the task 5.3 fostering communication, we have the networking map. So for this purpose, we have utilized the INTERMIN LinkedIn account. And what we have done here is we have made the connections based on the interactions that all the institutions, the Horizon 2020 projects had within the platform. So we are marked with by representing the institution and the relationship of each had with the INTERMIN project. So here we have mapped the Horizon 2020 projects, and we have also integrated the ResearchGate here. And all the institutions are marked on the right side area, but the deliverable 5.4 is confidential. But if you'd like to have a high quality image of this particular diagram, do let us know so that I can send you the high quality version of the image. And for the presence in event, so INTERMIN has been constantly promoted on various events. So here the conferences are marked in green, the workshop in red, the events in blue, and the organization of workshop in violet. And in total, INTERMIN is present in 13 conferences and 9 workshops, 13 events, and around 10 organizations of workshop. So this is a quick overview of all the events that INTERMIN has attended. So starting from EGU, PDAC, on all the events, INTERMIN was part of it. And yeah, thank you for your attention, and do let me know if you have any questions.
Excellent presentation, Krishnan. Thank you very much. I think the communication job of this project has been fantastic, and it's been has provided us with a lot of potential clients to the website. Now, if you have any question, please again open your microphone and ask Krishnan. If not, let me introduce you to Gerardo Herrera, who is going to moderate the presentation by project representatives, projects related to INTERMIN in EU and other projects, raw material projects, basically. Gerardo Herrera is a seconded national expert at the European Commission, DG GROW, Energy Intensive Industries and Raw Materials Unit. He is also a colleague of mine, a researcher at the Geological Survey of Spain, now in the CSIC, in the National Research Council. He's member of UNESCO Land Subsidence International Initiative and former chairperson of the Earth Observation Expert Group of Aerogeo Surveys. His research topics include Earth observation and geohazards. Please, Gerardo will be moderating the debate. I have to announce also that the first speaker will be César Luaces, because he has other commitments, and so we have changed. The rest will be as in the poster we send you. Gerardo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Manuel. Do you hear me well?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. As Manuel was saying, I'm in the Commission, in the Energy Intensive and Raw Materials Unit. I'm also connected to INTERMIN because I'm also a mining engineer from the School of Mines of Madrid. So here is also a little bit of the connection. So in this part of the session 1, we are going to see how 5 H2020 projects relate to INTERMIN, how main outcomes of these projects could be related to INTERMIN network, to the portfolio of training products and capacity building activities. I would like to remind the speakers to try to attach to the 10 minutes because I see we are a little bit running out of the time. And let's go with the first one. The first project that is going to be presented is DigiEcoQuarry by Mr. César Luaces Frades. He is Director General of the Spanish Aggregate Association and Federation, Director General of the Spanish Mining Confederation, Secretary General of the Spanish Industry, Minerals and Rock Confederation, and member on behalf of the European Aggregates Association of a number of committees and expert groups of the European Commission. Mr. Luaces Frades, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you see my screen.
Yeah, we were seeing it. Try, do it again.
Yeah.
There you are. We can see it.
Yeah. Do you see now the presentation, the full screen? Yes, that's it. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to present the project DigiEcoQuarry. I will give you a very quick overview of the project. This project is European Commission H2020 call, a 4-year project. We just started a few weeks ago in the beginning of June, the 1st of June this year, and we will finish in 2025 with a budget of 17 million euros and a funding of 30 million euros. ANEFA, we are the project leaders, and the focus of the project is the aggregate industry. You know that the aggregate industry is covering 26,000 sites in the European Union, which means more than 80% of the total EU sites. Just to show you the international partnership, we are 25 partners from 8 EU countries, plus Colombia and South Africa. And in them, we have 5 aggregate sites across Europe. So the ambition of the project is to try to develop the potential of digitalization in the aggregate industry. Just to let you know, the average size of a quarry or sand and gravel pit in Europe is around less than 10 people working there. So even we can find big quarry sites with a lot of technologies together with some small extraction site with a very old technology and old-fashioned. And the biggest challenge for us is to use the data that could be produced there to optimize the processes. And the big challenge is to connect all the quarry processes and integrate management in real time to improve and optimize several topics. I just want to highlight that we have 4 vectors of work. First of all, the increase or the improvement of the capacities on health and safety.
then environmental impact reduction, increase social acceptance, and also improve efficiency, selectivity, and profitability in the process. So what we are going to use is a combination of artificial intelligence, algorithms, cyber physical system, Internet of Things, and many other tools we are going to apply to use to develop, and also we are going to develop a platform to integrate everything that will be developed into the project. So as I said, we have a number of priority areas in the 4 vectors I already explained. I don't want to insist on that. And the main concept of the project is that from time being, we already have a number of different phases in the extraction and the treatment and the external storage and external transport. So the idea is to connect everything in the sites, to use some sub-platforms to use the data obtained in the equipments to optimize the processes, but also to develop, as I said, some artificial intelligence algorithm that could deliver real time or other information to the sites, where we will see in a moment there's a number of challenges concerning the skills of the people. So we are I don't want to go in deep, but we are we talk about connected equipment, remote operated equipment, real-time exploitation modeling, and many other things. So the problem for us is that our industry, the aggregate industries, in principle, due to the kind of companies and the behavior of the workers and the people employed, we are a little bit reluctant to new technologies. So we are facing a lack of skills related with digitalization, and we have another big challenge that is common to all the extractive industry, which is the aging of the workforce. So we have workers more and more older that needs to be up to date to the skills in order to be able to use the new technologies and new developments. So we have a capacity building program into the project with a number of actions and training tools and also training sessions. Of course, we will have, first of all, a test of the training tool in each pilot site, but also we need to work on skill and training and capacity building program on machines utilization, operational behavior, and process performance thanks to digitalization. So that is almost my final slide. Because I do not have anything to present, because we just start, as I said a few weeks ago. We will deliver a capacity building program carried out through a holistic combination between traditional approaches and e-learning material. The target for these effective training potential users and employers, as well as non-specialists, because the issue is that we cannot increase the number of workers of the sites to include a specialist in digital technologies. We need to upscale and increase the capacity of our workforce in order they will be able to use by themselves and to use and to benefit of all these technologies. So the education and training will be established on the basis for the creation of new skilled workers and oriented to SMEs and to contractor companies and workers, aligned with new renovation methodologies applied in the aggregates industry in the future. So this is in principle concerning the skills what we are going to develop. I will be very happy to show you more results of the project in the coming months and years. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Cesar, for these excellent presentations. I could now, is there, maybe Manuel, we leave the questions for the debate, right?
Okay, but if Cesar can stand, if not, it's better because I think he has to leave. It's better if we ask him a question now, or
Okay.
I think Gerardo, that it's very well focused on INTERMIN in reality, because what we have explained before is that INTERMIN is worried about the digitalization of the industry, and maybe you have a question for him in this relation.
Absolutely, I think that this is a key aspect of what you were presenting before, and my question would be, how do you think that this can relate to INTERMIN? I mean, you are creating a network in INTERMIN, you are creating some further sustainability developments of these projects. How can we get these potential results of this project into INTERMIN would be the question, maybe also to you, Manuel.
Well, Cesar, speak first, and I will say my opinion.
Yes, I think that we can, because you know that it's compulsory to make the link between projects, so we will be happy to try to explore the ways to collaborate or to use INTERMIN results and platform to better disseminate, because our big challenge here is that we are working with the 5 sites, and we have a target group of 26,000 sites. So we need to use as much as possible every network we can identify to be able to reach even the smallest site in Europe. So it will be important to be able to try to benefit on what you already developed in INTERMIN to enlarge the scope and the capacity of communicate of this project.
Well, thank you, Cesar. Yes, we are very happy that anything coming from your project goes into INTERMIN. If there are training programs, if you need us to publicize your anything on your new educational system that you will have to develop to digitalize the quarry workers in Europe, we are ready to the INTERMIN network will be hosted in the School of Mines probably, so I think the connection with you is very close. I know the School of Mines and ANEFA, there is even a full professorship on aggregates in the School of Mines in Madrid. So I think that the connection will be excellent, and I look forward to see that the success of your project is also the success of INTERMIN. Thank you, Cesar.
Thank you very much for your attention.
So if there are not any other questions, I would like to thank again Cesar for this excellent presentation and pass the floor to the next speaker. It's Project SUMEX. It will be Mr. Michael Tost. He's a senior researcher at Mountain Universitat Leoben, Austria, and owner of a sustainable consultancy in Austria. He has been head of external affairs in Europe and North America for Vale, head of mining and metals at the World Economic Forum, and he has been occupying different roles about sustainable development and health, safety, and environment in Rio Tinto. So, Mr. Michael Tost, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Gerardo. Manuel, I'm actually glad that you're sharing the screen, so I don't have the stress of getting it into a mode that we can actually show, but you've figured it out now. Thank you very much, first of all, for having me here today and giving me the opportunity on behalf of the SUMEX consortium to present our project. So Manuel, if you want to go to the second slide. What you soon will see there is sort of an overview of the project in, sorry?
I am seeing the second slide, but you don't see it. I don't know why.
Nope.
Let me see if I cancel this and try again. Okay,
there we go. Now I can see it. So this is, if I was really good, then you should actually, I would be able to explain the project just with this one slide, but this is actually the executive summary of our grant agreement, the summary of the grant agreement. But I just want to point out 2, 3 words that you see in this word cloud that I guess are relevant for today's conversation in the context of INTERMIN, close to the middle of the square that you can see here, and that's COP, community of practice, and right above that it's the learning, and I want to focus on those in this presentation to make the link to the INTERMIN project. But before I do that, you want to go to the next slide, please. I just want to, oops, I see.
You don't see it yet? Okay.
So there we go. I just want to give you an overview of the SUMEX project. We are also sort of in the one of the last Horizon 2020 projects to start. We only started at the end of last year and will be going for 3 years, so till the end of 2022, responding to the societal challenges of raw material demand and sustainability, where we are supposed to bring a diverse range of stakeholders together in a community of practice in order to build capacity of those stakeholders with regards to sustainability and with regards to some focus areas that I will discuss a little bit later. Next slide. So don't want to go into the details here with regards to the objectives. We can skip that one in the interest of time and go to the next slide. I will go into the details there anyways. The first thing we are doing, and this is work going on at the moment, some of you on this call today, Manuel, the previous speaker, Cesar, for instance, have been part of this work. We did interviews with stakeholders from across Europe to actually come up with a definition of what sustainability in the context of the European extractive industries should actually mean. And we've incorporated and put that in a European context, particularly considering the Green Deal, as well as Europe wanting to be carbon neutral by 2050. We looked at various frameworks that are out there, Responsible Jewelry Council, the IRMA framework, which are sort of mining specific ones, but also more generic contexts or sustainability contexts, such as from a scientific, biophysical point of view, the planetary boundaries, the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. And right about next week, we will actually publish the report on this sustainability framework, where we will describe sort of what we see as the key aspects of what sustainability means for the extractives in Europe. Not so much today, but also with a focus of going forward, moving from sort of what responsible extractives mean today towards that state of sustainability in the future, very much so aligned with the Green Deal and Europe becoming carbon neutral by 2050. And for us in the project, if you want to go to the next slide, please, this sustainability framework will act as a funnel, and we're going to feed existing European projects such as INTERMIN, such as the Mireo project, such as the MinGuide, the Minland project, etc. The ERAMIN projects, we're already, I think, at ERAMIN 3 now at the moment, into this funnel, i.e. we're going to do an analysis of those projects. We're going to also look at member state projects, regional projects, industry projects, and see how they contribute to the various sustainability aspects that we defined before, and whether or not they make a contribution to moving towards sustainability, that state of sustainability in the future. We're focusing not just on raw materials project, but we're also looking at land use, landscape and environmental planning projects, as well as sort of regional development, socioeconomic policy research, because this is going to be relevant for the focus areas that we're supposed to look at. So if we want to go to the next slide, we feed those projects into this funnel of sustainability. In addition to that, we're gonna look at policies in Europe, the member states at the European Union level, social, environmental, economic, and minerals policies, and look at 5 policy focus areas: social and environmental impact assessments, land use planning, health and safety, reporting, and permitting. So those are the SUMEX focus areas, processes that are of relevance, obviously, for the extractive industries. And we're going to find out how those sustainability aspects, sustainability practices within those projects are addressed according or contributing to making a difference in those focus areas. In addition, we're going to do 2 deep dives. In addition to the policy analysis, we're going to do deep dives. We're going to focus on battery materials. We have an industrial partner in the project with Boliden, the metals company from Sweden, and we're going to focus on construction materials. And there we have UEPG, the European Federation, as a partner in the project, and where we're going to very likely, probably of interest for Manuel, but with the help of Cesar, who just spoke before me, are going to use a Spanish construction materials company as the use case for that area. And of course, we're going to cover the full value chain, i.e. from pre-exploration to post-closure is what we're going to look at. If you want to go to the next slide then. And what we're going to do with this is we're supposed to come up with those good practices that we identify from those projects in those focus areas linked to sustainability, and put them into a portal, sort of a digital mining space, digital meeting space, and a learning exchange. So there is already, I guess, that connection to INTERMIN and your portal as well, where we then come up with this database of good practices in the context of those 5 focus areas and sustainability. If we want to go to the next slide, what we then intend to do is establish a community of practice. So people who are interested in these practices, those 5 focus areas, and then engage with those people within that community of practice via webinars, via workshops, via conferences, but also via digital tools. We're thinking of an online learning course, etc., in the direction of a massive open online course, that type of thing as well. And the core part, I guess, of our project is this 3L, the Leaders and Learners League, where we want to really have people who want to make a difference, to take a lead in establishing that community of practice. If you want to go to the next slide, this is sort of a generic call, be part of SUMEX. How can we actually make that link, INTERMIN versus SUMEX? I mean, I mentioned in the beginning, we're one of the last Horizon 2020 projects in the raw material space to start, and the way we've interpreted the call text and were successful with our application was actually that we're supposed to be a summary of bringing the good practices from the various projects together and then make them or present them and make that part of sort of capacity building. And I forgot to mention that before, was a particular focus on policymakers in the European member states. So it's really a particular focus of capacity building towards government, so that they understand what are the good practices out there in the context of sustainability, and how can we actually in this context move the extractive industry forward. So I leave it there, I guess. To be worked out is, I guess, the connection on how can we link up the portals, how can we connect the communities of practice, that you've already established also in the SUMEX project. Thank you very much, and looking forward to your questions.
Thank you very much for this timely presentation. Manuel, shall we ask questions or just move it to the discussion? This could be...
I think we should go on and then the discussion at the end with, or unless someone wants to ask some question now because it's fresh. But
yeah, it's a matter of timing. This is why I'm asking. Yeah.
We are okay on time.
Okay, so then we will leave the discussion for the next part of this section, and we will pass to project EITMOBIUS, presented by Marcio Taimerao, whom is working in La Palma Research Center, being work package leader on communication and dissemination of Mobius and UNEX up EIT raw material projects. Please, Marcio.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'll try to put presentation mode. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops. Sorry. Okay, thank you very much. I present the Mobius project funded by EIT Raw Materials. And so the scope and objective of Mobius is to create a structured mobility network between 4 universities of the EZ region, so the East and Southeastern Europe. And then by using these mobility options, the students can acquire a different specialization that is maybe not as that focused in their home university, and then therefore to add value to their education journey by spending 1 semester at the, let's say, host university, and then go back to finalize their studies in their home university, and then to create a stronger workforce, more prepared to the skills and competence needs of the industry. And one of the main impacts is to reduce or try to mitigate the brain drain from the EZ region to the Western institutions to make stronger education in raw materials in the Eastern and Southeastern Europe. And with that, also to create better conditions within the universities to make the mobility work in terms of staff, structure, and administration, and also facilities within the university, and also to expand the lessons learned from Mobius to other institutions and faculties in the region. So these mobility opportunities can be expanded to other faculties and universities. And yeah, I don't see. Okay. So in the left graph, you can see just how Mobius stays compared to Erasmus and joint degree programs. So it's not a mandatory mobility. Students that opt for this mobility would add value to their education journeys, but if they want to just simply stay in their home university, in their home program, master program, they can stay. And on the right is just a simplified scheme of how these mobilities work. Of course, it's just simplified. Some programs are only 3 semesters long, some are 4. And therefore, the student can start their first semester in their home university and then go either in the second and the third semester to the partner university to acquire a different specialization, and then go back to their home university and finalize their studies. So the partnership is structured between mentoring institutions and the networking institutions. So the networking partners, the institutions that are involved in the network, is the Wrocław University of Science and Technology from Poland, also from Poland, the AGH University of Science and Technology, from Croatia, the University of Zagreb, Faculty of Mining, Geology and Petroleum Engineering, and also University of Miskolc from Hungary. And this networking is with the help of mentoring institutions, and which include La Palma Research Center from Spain, Aalto University from Finland, and to Vienna, with the help of an advisory board, both to address the skills and competences in the raw material sector, but also how to, like, the administration procedures, how to set up these mobilities within the universities as effectively as possible. And the project is structured in 9 work packages, starting with the compilation of guideline documents, both for the best practices, to how to set up a mobility within a university, but also the compilation of the skills and competences gaps of the raw material sector. And this is where INTERMIN was a valuable input for Mobius, because we used the skills and competence guide as was presented by Luis Lopes, to make the network institutions to work on their pathways and fulfill these gaps. So this was an important input from INTERMIN in the project. And also the workshops, who were the matchmaking sessions for the networking universities together with Work Package 4, the mentoring institutions to work out the mobility pathways and the options. And this is all supported by a communication and dissemination plan and the project management, which is conducted by Ferenc Madai from University of Miskolc. And some of the other activities due to the COVID situation was the virtual student mobility. So in the second semester of 2020, the mobility is already started online. So students in one of the programs that are involved in Mobius could enroll in the classes of the partner institution for the semester. And then hopefully in the near future, we can have the actual mobilities and the possibilities of traveling and having the experience of international studies. And also they opened the event on the November of 2020. There was the event in which the networking institutions could present themselves, their programs and their facilities to the students. So it was an open event in which students interested in participating in the mobility could learn about Mobius. And also all the universities, the 4 networking universities, made the promo videos. So in the YouTube channel of Mobius, you can watch each institution prepared their own video promoting their facilities, their labs, the programs, the staff, and the focus of each program. So the students can be familiarized with what is being offered and then make the best decision, not only in terms of academic experience, but also the student life in the campuses. So to make this network happen, the workshop was of crucial importance, and it was divided in 2 sessions. The first session was in June, online, in which the Mobius concept was presented. The network institutions presented their portfolios, what is being offered to Mobius, and also the mentoring partners presented the guideline documents that were compiled. One of them, again, is the skills and competence gaps, which was an important input from INTERMIN. And then in the second part, in September, the partner universities could work one-on-one. The representatives of the programs could work out which are the best pathways and comparable programs that could be complementary to the students based on a supply and demand exercise. So what is lacking in one of the universities could be complemented by what the other universities could offer, and vice versa. And this was also a self-assessment. In the first part, there was a self-assessment exercise. So the universities could, based on the mentors, they could figure out what is missing in terms of administration and facilities in their home universities to set up the mobility. And then in the second part, they presented the results. So just an example, based on the finding common points between the programs, this is only an example between University of Zagreb and Miskolc. So the programs of geotechnical engineering, groundwater engineering, and environmental engineering. So they could create a mobility in which students interested in being specialized in geo-environmental engineering could take this pathway and then be according to their academic and professional objective. So 13 pathways were developed in total between the 4 institutions, 4 in geology and geophysics, 3 in geo-environmental topics, and 6 in mining engineering. And one of the main outputs in terms of communication of the project is the project booklet, which is it's being finalized at the moment, and this will comprise one of the most complete guides of Mobius. And it comprises information about the project as a whole, all the universities involved, the partners, the programs, the master programs involved, and also, of course, the mobility pathways that were designed, and a brief course descriptions of each pathway involved in each pathway. And the Pathway Finder at the homepage of the project is one of the most informative tools for the students to search their pathway. So in the Mobius website, there is a section in the main menu called the Mobius Network, and you can find this webpage where the mobility pathways are available, also the administration and admission procedures, so the conditions to enroll in the mobility, and also all the master programs that are involved in Mobius. Each university has 3 to 4 programs that are being offered in Mobius. And after that, there was an exercise in which Based on the guidelines from INTERMIN in the skills and competence needs, and also the industry workshop, in which we listen to the input from the industry directly, what they need, what they require from the students. And on the left, you can see just an example column with all these skills listed. So for example, soft skills, data management, big data analysis, project management, and each pathway have their own table like this, and each column represent one of the courses from the mobility. So this is just an example, and the idea is that at least one course of the mobility have to address these competence needs. So these are actual needs that were both from the industry and also from INTERMIN. So in this way, the universities could compile and do the best as possible in the pathways. And then also for Mobius, the training event. The training idea is to gather representatives from the faculties and universities of in the EASY region related to raw materials to teach the lessons learned from Mobius and present these guidelines that I just presented, and also some insights in the post-COVID era related to raw materials. So also guest speakers were invited to talk about raw materials policy, changes in the student mobilities due to COVID, and also maybe changes in the competence needs in the raw material sector. So I'd like to thank once more Manuel and Peter for presenting in our training, and then also a homework for these institutions to do a self-assessment, what they require to be involved in mobilities in the future. And then in the second part, they will present the results. So thank you very much. These are the social media and our website, and also my email if you want to get in contact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcio, for this excellent presentation. I see how very interesting network of universities to help mobilities, to improve the raw materials training. I see also very interesting how you are using INTERMIN skills and competence guide to make it useful for Mobius projects. So, and I also see very interesting how you have been adapting to the COVID-19, becoming a resilient project and showing this capacity of virtual mobility. So very interesting. Thank you very much. So I think that we will go to the next presentation, and then we will go for the questions at the end of all the projects, if Manuel agrees. So the next project is PROSKILLS, that is going to be presented by Ms. Cristina Vargas, who's an economist and political scientist, lecturer at the Institute of Management Science at University of Miskolc. She is coordinator of the PROSKILLS Project, and her research focuses on the analysis of employee competencies. Ms. Cristina Vargas, please, the floor is yours.
You had to open your microphone.
Okay.
Now you have to present. You are the presenter. Okay.
It's okay? Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you, Cristina.
Okay, thank you very much for the invitation. As the moderator said, my name is Cristina Varga. I warmly welcome you, and I work for the Institute of Management Sciences at the University of Miskolc. University of Miskolc is the lead partner of the PROSKILLS project, which is absolutely a competency-based project. Firstly, I would like to give you some feedback about the main goals of the PROSKILLS project. The PROSKILLS project has a double purpose. On the one hand, the project would like to develop a skill ecosystem, would like to identify the most important and missing hard and soft skills and competencies in raw material sector, and we would like to identify the strategies which can work to ensure the sustainability of the project and the programs. Of course, the PROSKILLS focuses on the Train the Trainers program. And on the other hand, the PROSKILLS project is a pilot project which deals with the colleges for advanced studies in the Visegrad.
Oh. Cristina, I don't hear you. Cristina? Cristina?
Manuel, maybe I'll send a message.
Yeah, maybe we can text her.
Yeah, Cristina, we cannot hear you. Something is wrong. Ah, okay. I think she was about to be disconnected for she has to re-enter again, I guess. We cannot hear you yet, Cristina. A ver, voy a mandarle. Cristina, ¿dónde estás, Cristina? Cristina, you hear us?
She's writing now in the chat, Manuel. So
no, I cannot. We do not hear you.
yes, we are chatting that. Yeah.
Maybe she should re-enter. Sí.
Maybe should we? I don't know. Move to the next one and then try, or
yes, why not?
Or let's wait if she can join quickly. I don't know.
Okay, I am here.
Okay,
now she's back. Yes.
We can hear you now, Cristina.
Yeah.
Okay, then I will continue, maybe without camera. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Now we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You were on the third, I think, on the third slide.
The close relationship with other project, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we have close relationship with other projects in the University of Miskolc, the TRAINSI and the LIMBRA project. Of course, the TRAINSI focuses on the trainers programs, and the LIMBRA deals with the problem of brain drain. That's why PROSKILLS project could relate to this project. We would like to reduce the negative effects of skill problems, the missing skill and competencies problem, and we would like to develop this skill ecosystem with sharing experiences and best practices. Here is the model of PROSKILLS project, which is a T-shaped skills and competencies model. The work packages can be divided into 5 parts. The first work package is the project management activity. The second one is the dissemination and communication plan, which is related to the EFG mainly. The third work package means the development of skill ecosystem, the different competencies measurement program, for example. The fourth work package would like to train the trainers and improve the education landscape. And the last one, the fifth work package, try to improve the professional life inside the college for advanced studies in the Visegrad 4 countries. I would like to present you our new findings in 2020 and 2021, 1.5 year. The project will end in 2022. First of all, in January of 2020, we started with the kickoff meeting, and then we started our work. In July, we organized the questionnaire survey, and we finished it in August. The questionnaire were fulfilled by more than 200 companies in these 4 countries. Then we started the data analysis and the in-depth interviews, which are finished in August, and 35 interviews were organized in the 4 countries. We found that the most important skills or competencies in these countries are the professional knowledge, the problem-solving ability, and the specific technical knowledge. Then in September, we tested the student. We made a competency measurement in the 4 university. Our test identifies the basic attitudes and preferences in work-related areas of behavior, like the cooperation, the task processing, the leadership motivation. More than 160 students fulfilled this test. And we identified the most critical areas in these 4 countries, which are the reaction to frustration, the failure, communication, and team working. That's why we started our work with workshop and different lectures, which focus on these critical points. In November, we organized the thematic event. We had to change thematic event 1 with the thematic event 3. So we organized the Researchers' Night in November online, nearly with 700 participants. In every country, we organized national conference in October and November, mostly online, but in Hungary offline. And in December, the skill ecosystem strategy was ready. So we can make our strategy in these 2 years. In April, we had a midterm project meeting when we summarized our work packages activity. And in every country, we organized a workshop session in April and May. The leader of this program was the EFG, when 2 long-standing mentors shared best practices, and we had more than 15 registered participants. In Hungary and in the other countries, of course, we organized the Workshop 1 event, which is a new and innovative teaching methods event. And we had 2 guest lectures in these countries and try to develop the different missing competencies in these countries. In the next months, we would like to provide the mentoring program to students, international competition, workshop 2, and other guest lecturers, of course. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina, for this very interesting presentation on the PROSKILLS and how you're trying to build this, or you are building already this skill ecosystem. And now we will go to the next speaker that will present us project illuMINEation, at least, is Dr. Philipp Hartlieb. He is a senior scientist at Universität Leoben, Austria. His research focuses on rock fragmentation and excavation technologies, including drilling and blasting, mechanical excavation and alternative excavation methods, as well as the efficient acquisition, use, and data analysis in the mining process. Dr. Philipp, the floor is yours, please.
Yes, but I must not forget to unmute my phone. So I hope you can, my mic. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, perfectly.
Wonderful. So I'll try to be quick, give you a brief overview of the illuMINEation project. I got a complaint today that it's too complicated of a name, but it was not my invention, so sorry for that. But I hope it is a catchy name. And what it means is that we want to bring light into mining. in a, well, metaphorical way. So we want to have lots of digital developments, digital aspects that contribute to a better understanding of the mining process, especially underground mining processes in terms of safety, stability, and sustainability. And so, yeah, this is something that we want to increase there. So that we want to illuminate well, the mining process. We are a project, so Montana Universität Leoben is coordinating that project, but I think you will discover a couple of similarities to DigiEcoQuarry that was presented by Cesar an hour ago or so. The core of this project is about, well, digital processes in the mining operation, as I just said. We have been starting in September last year with 19 partners from 6 European countries, and we want to implement our findings and our developments in 5 different use cases. Well, the list of partners, as you see on that slide, I think it says a lot about, on the one hand side, the technological development, but on the other hand side, also the implementation and the educational component to that. So as you see, we do have a couple of universities and like us, like UPM in Madrid, like LTU in Lille. We do have many industry partners from the mining industry, but also from more digital aspects who are contributing to that. And I think especially the partners in the academic sector here. Well, I already used lots of content of the illuMINEation project in my lectures because, well, it's new technology that they can directly use. But I will come back to that also at the end of my presentation on, well, what kind of skills do we need? So having the link to INTERMIN, who needs the skills. So that's definitely one of the most more interesting things there. So what we promise, and that's also more like from the project proposal that we have been taking, we want to tackle issues in the digitalization of the mining sector with a special focus on safety, environment, and economic performance. And what we want to do is implement industrial Internet of Things, and with that also process the data in a smart way and use these novel visualization capacities. In the end, what we're doing is we want to generate, or formulate it a bit differently. You know that all over the world, in every mobile phone, every piece of equipment, you do have a bunch of sensors that are extremely cheap. So the price of the mobile phone, in many cases, is just paying the brand name of Silicon Valley companies, but the sensors they're using, they are cheap, and sometimes they just cost a couple of cents. Probably a couple of euros, depending on the precision that they're using or having. So what we want to do is really making use of these very cheap and vastly available sensors in all kinds of the underground process. So from the rock bolts themselves to the battery observation of a new mining equipment, to, well, to ventilation, to tailings dam stability observations. With this huge amount of data, we want to do something. We want to see if something is stable or behaves in a strange way. We want to optimize the processes. We want to will increase the performance of predictive maintenance. So maintain your equipment right in time to have the most, to get the most out of your uptime or have the best available uptime. And that's what we in the end want to do in this project. So we want to implement that in 5 different use cases. Some of them are well known, I think, also amongst the people who are here in this virtual room. Underground mines mainly, but also open pit operations like the tailings dam stability facility in Poland and use and test case mine of Epiroc company. And in all of those mines, they do have completely different structure, and with structure I mean personal structure, different people working there with different background and skills. Of course, they also use completely different mining system, and it's a challenge for us to implement that all. So going to one step further, the key objectives that we're having here, they are all linked to new technologies, especially new software technologies, linking the data that we can generate, data that we can collect with all the machines that we have to making something valuable with them. When you start on the left-hand side here, we don't want to reinvent the rock mechanical concepts, but with new measurement devices, with cheap measurement devices. You imagine we can now have a rock mechanical value for every single rock bolt. Previously, you designed a couple of rock bolts which cost 1,000 euros upwards, which have been the measurement bolts. Now we want to do this with every single rock bolt and get the information of them. Similarly, I already talked about the predictive maintenance part, but what is also very important is the part that we have in the upper right-hand side here, the efficient resources extraction. I think that the efficiency is very important on the one hand side, but the technologies that we have listed there, so advanced drilling techniques, borehole deviation monitoring, optimized rock fragmentation, they go hand in hand, and we don't change the mechanics of that. We change the observation capacities of that. So we want to really get hands on the data, know exactly where the drill steel is, know exactly what kind of deviation it has, know exactly the position of the explosive charge in the rock mass. And with that, we can improve our performance, and hopefully in a very good way, and or in a very significant way. And this all in our project, all the things on the left-hand side, they all go here to this lower right-hand side. So we all want to merge them in a Internet of Things platform, a platform that collects the information for the users in a meaningful way, and where every user, be it the foreman, be it the truck driver, be it the mine manager, or be it the CEO of the company, can defer their information, the information they want to have and the information they need. This brings me to my last slide and to my last statement, link to the education and INTERMIN. We are dealing with new technology, we're dealing with new ways of using data, not with new ways of generating the data or doing the job, but with new ways of seeing and taking a look at that. And I believe for that, we need a very wide range of skills that are necessary to solve those issues, and especially skills that have to be adopted by the workforce, and not just the engineer. And I see problems also with the engineers. So if you go to a mining engineering program, in many cases, you do this for a good reason. There's a good reason why you don't go into coding or something else. But with the emergence of those technologies, also the mining engineer and the geologist and whoever we're talking here in the INTERMIN project of has to acquire at least some of those skills, because you have to deal with these topics. You have to implement the sensors, you have to implement the data collection system, and you have to read the data. You have to interpret them. You have to use them. If you, as the mining engineer and the mine manager, always feeds or needs a subcontractor to do the job, then I think you're in the wrong position. And the third part here that I listed is need to teach and educate the workforce with the technologies. You need to teach the people to handle that. I think many people are willing to do that. Also from our experience, it is shown that the truck drivers really want to know what happens with the data, for example, as well, because they have a different motivation, because the truck driver wants to teach the wheel loader driver that he's doing something wrong. Vice versa, the wheel loader driver wants to teach the truck driver that he's loading perfectly, but the truck driver is going the wrong direction. And then they both together, they complain about the blasting group, the blasting team. But still, they want to work with the technology, and they also need the technology. But I think you need to teach everybody in the hierarchy or in the mining system to use the technologies and the tools that we provide in the most meaningful way. And taking a look at the clock, I think I simply stop talking. Last but not least, you can find my contact details here and also the contact details of the illuMINEation project. Krishna has done a tremendous job in the exploitation of the illuMINEation project, and I will be happy to well, attract one or two of you also to follow us on our social media channels or follow us on our newsletter that we aim at publishing regularly. And well, now I'm happy for your questions and for the discussion that is following.
Thank you very much, Dr. Philip, for this very interesting presentation on the illuMINEation project. I didn't say it correctly at the beginning.
No
I think it's an impressive project speaking about automation and digitalization in the mining sector. There is a strong industrial involvement, and there will be certainly questions or discussion to be raised here about how these developments, technological adoption in the raw material sector can be transformed into products, training products, and capacity building for the INTERMIN network of training education institutions. So I think that with this talk, we have finished the presentations and we will start the discussion. Manuel, if it's correct,
yes,
we will
correct.
have this stakeholder debate. So everybody is welcome to maybe ask questions or write questions in the chat. The focus of this debate is about the importance of training and education in the raw material sector. I will maybe briefly just revise key notes that I have been taking from the different projects that we have been seeing now, just to facilitate this discussion, conversation with all of you. We have seen in DigiEcoQuarry these challenges in the aggregate industry and how they are approaching to digitalization. We see that the key issue here is that we have small companies with a small working force that has to be reskilled and adapted, doing a transition from old technologies to new technologies. And this is what they are facing here, how to reskill and how INTERMIN can help in this. No, it will be this project. The next project in SUMEX is very challenging. No, it's setting the sustainability framework for the raw material sector. The Commission is working a lot in this sense now. In the coming weeks, months, there will be a publication of the EU sustainable principles for raw materials. There is a lot of policy developments around sustainable and responsible mining recently or now also. The Commission will publish 2 GRC reports. One, it will be about the collection of available techniques for the prevention and reduction of environmental impact in non-extractive industries. Other report will be background study on the environmental impact assessment of non-energy mineral extraction projects with regard to the European Union Community requirements. So, well, this project is very aligned with the Critical Raw Material Action Plan, and we're trying to promote the sustainable and responsible mining in the EU. We had this EITMOBIUS, and we have seen how there is this connection with INTERMIN already using a skills and competence guide to build this mobility for Eastern countries for the raw materials universities. We had the PROSKILLS, where Miss Cristina Varga was showing us how they are building this skill ecosystem, trying to link missing skills and competence with the capacities of the training programs and how are they developing this. And as I was telling, we have seen the illuMINEation project where we have this transition towards the automation and digitalization of the mining industry. So now from my side, at least in this framework of the INTERMIN, where we see that the INTERMIN is facing the gaps, the needs of education for the raw materials, I would have 3 general questions, but it's only to open the floor and start discussing. I think that there is a challenge in the EU regarding to create employment opportunities in the raw materials. We are doing this Green Deal transition. We need to increase domestic sourcing of raw materials. We need to go for this climate neutral economy, and we need to in some regions that are carbon intensive regions, we need to do this transition. So I think that these projects can certainly contribute, but how could they contribute to create these employment opportunities? Other question would be how these training products can be disseminated or distributed in the long term. We see that some of these projects are very Internet of Things oriented, digitalization of the raw materials. We need to see what kind of toolkits can they deliver to be disseminated. And the other question would be how these projects, training products or results can be distributed or disseminated more widely within EU region and countries, and also with non-EU countries. That is also a very important pillar of the critical raw material action plan, because we need also to increase, let's say, the links, the international partnerships with resource-rich countries not from the EU. Okay, so this would be my open questions to all the speakers, but of course, the floor is open to anybody to ask other questions and we can start the debate. Thank you very much. Maybe to answer the questions, we can go simply one by one, following the order of the speakers, to make a short introduction to this discussion. Manuel?
Yeah, yes.
If you agree.
Anyone who wants to ask something to any of the speakers, they can just open the microphone and make the question. Or here, Victor Correa presenting is asking a question to MOBIUS. The question is, do you think your project would be more effective in attracting new students to geoscience courses? If yes, why? So, MOBIUS first, PROSKILL. Marcio?
Okay. Yeah, I think the possibility of having this, like MOBIUS offering these mobility opportunities to the students, it's of course to specialize in their already chosen pathway of raw materials, but this also brings soft skills in their curricula, which are important input for to fulfill the needs of the industry. And also, of course, the personal experience of having international mobility, so to experience life in a different country, you can gather a valuable experience in the personal life. So even in the end, if you finish your if you already have like a master, for example, in another field, you can have a possibility of merging and combining it with another master's in geosciences to fulfill your academic or professional needs. You can do through MOBIUS, and then choosing a raw materials related program. But it's not only purely geosciences, but also waste management and environmental matters is also involved in MOBIUS. So for environmental scientists, they could be involved in MOBIUS, even if it's not purely geoscience related. So I think that's how MOBIUS can fit in this and be important to this student.
And Christina? Oh, Christina is writing. I think you can all read the chat, no? Yes. Well, I don't know if I could. Okay,
there is a question for Philip. Maybe Philip can, or maybe Satar can speak it loud, the question. And
yeah, the question is, what is the impact of next generation workforce transformation on the mining industry, and how will it impact everyday operations and the digital mining transformations? Ooh, it's a complicated thing. I think it's also in light to the previous question that about how do we attract future students, more on geoscience part rather than mining part. But what I have the impression is that as mining engineers, at least, we do have a problem at showcasing that we are dealing with up-to-date technologies. People still think that we are those little dwarfs that are kneeing underground and having a chisel and a hammer. And I believe it's a very important message to also spread to the world that we are, well, not that anymore, that we're really working with up-to-date technologies, that we are in some kinds or in some operations that we are really the ones who are leading, like autonomous driving. I read today that I think Rio Tinto was PHP is investing a couple of billions to further extend the autonomous capacities in the Pilbara region in Western Australia. And autonomous driving on the road is still far down the road. Well, forgive the pun. I think that is something that we really need to show. With that, we attract the proper people to transfer into digital operations. Something that we must not forget is that we still need hard facts. So that we're still working with rock, that we're still needing very stable mechanical tools and operations. So digitalization is still just helping us performing our jobs in the best possible way. But we will never be able to make a purely digital mind because somebody, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody will always have to weld something. You will always have mechanical parts doing things, and but the digital aspect, of course, help you doing it in the best way and exploiting things in the best possible way. And I think that's a message that we need to transfer. If that answers your question. I think it was a bit going around it, but
I would have another question for you, if possible, if I may. I've seen that in your project, Philip, there is a strong industrial component, and you are really trying to design this for industrial stakeholders. All these developments that you're going to do, these digital platforms and so, are you going to do some kind of training toolkits or some kind of dissemination products that can help, for example, in INTERMIN network to try to then promote this kind of training within their mining schools, for example?
That's something that I probably forgot to mention in my previous presentation. Is we do also have a training aspect in the project, but we did not really touch on that yet because the project just started 9 months ago and still takes more than 2 years, and we didn't touch on that. So the way it's gonna look like, I don't know yet. But the suggestion of having kind of training tool, having small digital devices that have some relation to mining and that you can show to the people or to the students is definitely a good idea. So I will keep that in mind, and thank you very much for that suggestion. So that might be valuable.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions for other panelists, maybe?
I have a question for Michael. The SUMEX project is working on sustainability of the mining industry somehow. I wonder what relation you see from your project side, although you're starting, I think, or you are doing this mixture of information from everywhere. We have seen clearly, and there are 2 projects showing this, DigiEcoQuarry and illuMINEation, that digitalization of the mining is a must. And of course, training of the people to do that is another must, a beforehand must. What is the relation do you see from SUMEX with the new paradigm of mining that will be digital somehow, or at least it will have more control systems, I don't know, and sustainability?
Well, it goes back to Sata's question before as well, I guess, or one element in that. And what we're looking at now as well, and I don't have the solution at this stage, but obviously this social contract of you have a mine and that mine provides jobs, and through providing these jobs, you kind of accept some negative consequences, i.e. environmental impacts as well. That will certainly change with a digital mine. So when you look, Philip mentioned the Pilbara before, if you have robots basically driving your ore around, you don't need truck drivers anymore. And the truck drivers, that's local jobs. They're gone or replaced by operators of those robotic trucks that sit 3,000 kilometers away in Perth. So that changes the social contract of accepting the mines in the Pilbara. And that is certainly something we're looking into as part of the sustainability framework for the industry, as part of the SUMEX project as well. So what are the consequences of all this, and what does that mean for the mining industry? So it's not just the technological changes, but what do those then also mean for society? And just to give you two examples, just this morning and yesterday, we actually spoke to community representatives. So people who are neighbors of mines, and both of them separately brought up that issue, that my grandfather used to work in this mine, my father used to work in this mine, I can't work in this mine anymore because their jobs have become less and less and less over time. So people do certainly bring that up as an aspect, as an issue. So that's just something to consider. I don't have the solution yet on what the new social contract might look like, but it's also something for the industry to think about.
May I add something to that? Because we have had a similar discussion on that in the previous talk that I've been giving about digitalization. And I think this is a problem that we're facing with every technological development. It was in the Industrial Revolution, it was with mechanization 100 years ago. Mechanization was the up-and-coming topic in mining, and then people kind of lost their jobs because a truck could take over what previously a horse rider could do. We don't really lose the jobs, but the jobs will be different and probably at different locations. And that is definitely something that plays a role in all the aspects there. We need, not we need, but I think people need to be aware of the fact that the competency profile will also change. I think that digital jobs, or jobs dealing with digitality, is that the right word, will need a higher degree of qualification, and that those very pure labor jobs, very simple labor jobs, they will be gone at some point. And as Michael has mentioned, and as somebody else did previously, my new hobby kind of is mining in space, where you don't really send people, but you still have the people on ground here on Earth who, well, do with the technologies and who still have a job on that. But they won't be there and dig the material.
I agree.
So I would add on this a little bit that I fully agree on this two-dimension comment, because I think that on one hand, the digitalization of the mining can help us to get these better jobs with more digital component, and on the other hand, I think that it can also help a lot to achieve the sustainable and responsible mining concept, because maybe this will engage more people, communities with a responsible mine. So I think this is very important as a reflection or conclusion. For Michael, I would have a small question. Do you hear me or no? Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Because the screen for the video is paralyzed, but if you hear me, it's okay. So, Michael, I'm curious on how you're going to do this focus areas analysis on batteries and construction materials. Are you going to analyze the sustainability along the whole value chain? How you are going to do this?
It's actually a good question. To some extent, yes, but only sort of as a minor aspect with regards to the value chain. Our focus is extraction. So it's really the mining process, but from there, it is actually from exploration to closure and the impacts of closure as well. And of course, so for instance, if you look at social environmental impact assessment, that is something that is of relevant for all those stages. So you have social environmental impact when you start exploration, all the way to closure and post-closure. Permitting you need all across that. But then we don't go into manufacture. We don't go into recycling of the products, etc. other than they will play a role in a broader sustainability context, i.e. the industry will need to figure out what its role is going to be in a circular economy, what and how it's going to handle full transparency in the value chain. Once products are, or minerals, for instance, are fully traceable, they come with a blockchain, however that's going to look like attached to it. The industry will have to handle that, and that's what we figure out, or what we're pointing out at this very moment. Do we have all the solutions? No, we don't. But hopefully, as I mentioned before, with this funnel and these projects, the ones that were mentioned here today as an example, feeding into that funnel, we can actually get those examples and collect them.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions?
David and Victor, they made some comments. And I agree with Victor that the green transition will accelerate these things that we've been discussing, and also that that David is mentioning one thing I didn't hear, but probably SUMEX we deal is with geoethics, another aspect of the formula of social and environmental impacts and geoethics, how governments and people should deal with this. I was yesterday in an interview with a TV here in Madrid, and they were asking me about the lithium and the future of lithium in Spain, and why there was so much opposition in some areas, and I tried to express this need of governments to behave balancing environmental and social impact with industrial and needs that also means jobs. That this is difficult task for governments, particularly here in Spain, where the mining and environmental competences have been transferred to the autonomic governments.
We have another question from Satar. Maybe you would like to elaborate it, Satar?
Yes, Satar, you can open your microphone and make the question if you want.
Otherwise, I can read it, no problem. Okay.
Okay.
For Michael would be, what are the key sustainability issues that mining industry faces from a human rights perspective?
Well, we don't go into sort of that level of detail really that I can say key sustainability in the context of human rights, but for us, human rights is one sustainability aspect that needs to be clearly resolved in accordance with UN rules concerning to human rights, meaning that human rights need to be accepted and need to be, or mining needs to be in accordance with the basic human rights as per the UN as defined there. Interestingly, in a first draft of those aspects, we actually thought that human rights as an issue would not be an issue in Europe anymore in the context of the extractives. And when we then did interviews with Manuel, with various other stakeholders, as I pointed out earlier, they actually said, no, you keep human rights as an issue. I mean, yeah, if you want to go into details, there is certain social elements that go into this or that are under this aspect or element as well, that you might consider sort of relevant under human rights. Decent wages, if you look at the employees, etc., fair compensation, those type of things. One could think about ethical business standards that could fit into this. Well, one other element that came up also relevant for Europe is indigenous people and their cultural heritage and the consideration of their cultural heritage. particularly relevant, obviously, in the Nordic countries with regards to the Sami people. So we spoke to Sami representatives as part of the project as well, and certainly not everything has yet been resolved with regards to land rights, with regards to hunting and fishing rights, but also with regards to them having potentially different value systems, in a sense that they don't necessarily agree with living in a kind of industrial economic system the way we have it. But they might see a different system and live their lives in a different kind of way, which falls under human rights as well, and something that we'd have to accept. So long-winded answer to that short question.
Thank you very much. So Manuel, I think we are on time now to wrap up and end up this very interesting section, I would say. I enjoyed very much learning about these ongoing projects and how they relate to INTERMIN. I think that the chance is there. We have some projects developing digitalization of mining that needs some training material for the network of raw material training centers to disseminate, or these projects and organizations to join into the INTERMIN network. So I think that is the challenge from the viewpoint of the digital mining and also from the viewpoint of the sustainable mining that we have seen. So I think that the challenge is there, and I hope that the sustainability of these projects and INTERMIN is aligned and you can work together, because the challenge is there to increase domestic sourcing in the EU, to increase circularity, to make a sustainable and responsible mining. So thank you very much all for your participation. I enjoyed very much this session and this presentation of INTERMIN, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, Gerardo. It was a pleasure to have you on board, and thank you to all the presenters and all the attendants. But I have to tell you that in 1 hour we will go on, and we will have this vision of the future of training and education and skills in the raw material sectors around the world, with fantastic presenters from all over the world, some of them belonging to our consortium, some of them from outside the consortium. So you have the typical European have 1 hour lunchtime, free time, and we will, if you